Have you ever watched a commentary or drama video and were just thinking, am I part of the problem? Because you kind of agreed with the people called out more than with the people exposing them? Today, I'm here to tell you that that is fine. I noticed this trend in the internet in general, but especially from the US American side, that they get offended by everything, that they are nitpicking things that maybe I just disagree because I'm European, maybe it's just because a general disagreement. And for ease, I will probably refer to those YouTubers as American YouTubers, but let me make this clear. I'm not referring to every American there is. I know there are much more Americans that are not like this, but most of the YouTubers I know being like this are Americans, not the other way around. Just wanted to make that clear. I don't want to offend every American. That's not the point of the video. I just want to point out why so many people get so easily offended. And I hope my video won't be one of those things. Salvete legionarii. I hope I pronounced that somewhat correct. For those that don't know, I refer to my subscribers as my legion, the 102nd legion, because 10-2. And today we are talking about people getting offended on the internet. And yes, I know, I'm kind of one of them because I make this video because, okay, I'm not offended by those things. I just get annoyed and I don't understand it. And I want to share my opinion on certain topics that I completely disagree, even though most of the internet sees it as the popular opinion. So let's jump right in, shall we? So according to Wikipedia, the definition of stereotypes is: in social psychology, a stereotype is a generalized belief about a particular category of people. It is an expectation that people might have about every person of a particular group. The type of expectation can vary. It can be, for example, an expectation about the group's personality, preferences, appearance, or ability. Stereotypes are sometimes overgeneralized, inaccurate, and resistant to new information, but can sometimes be accurate. From that definition, I don't seem to get why there should be an inherent negative connotation to it. Because it isn't. Since Twitter and YouTube especially, you could get the idea that stereotypes are offensive and that you're a racist or a sexist or ableist when you talk or make jokes or something regarding stereotypes. For me, especially as a German, I don't get it, because in Germany we like to think in stereotypes and we like to make stereotypical jokes about ourselves and other people. That's just our humor. And that doesn't mean that we are offensive. That just means that my culture is different from yours. I really don't get it, because when I would upload a video and make a stereotypical joke, I would get called out so bad for something that is normal in my country, but I get called out by people of another country because they think their culture is more valid in this than mine. Of course, you can use stereotypes to make a racist statement, and in that case, stereotypes are bad. No doubt about it. I won't deny that there is a way of using stereotypes to put down and demean other groups or people. The problem I have with this is people use stereotypes all the time. Let's be real here. Not just Germans, also Americans. Let's say, for example, a Karen. It is a stereotype for white middle-aged women with that weird haircut that they're so entitled. That is a stereotype. And everyone makes fun of it, and it's fine, and not every white woman with a haircut is offended by it. Not every woman that is called Karen is offended by it, because it's a weird stereotype, and people know how to treat it. But God forbid you make a stereotypical statement about people of color, then you're immediately a racist. And that is where I don't get the discussion. In Germany, we like to think in a drawer system. We have different drawers for different people, different stereotypes. One stereotype is one drawer. And when we meet another person, we put them just based on an initial impression in one drawer. But we leave all of those drawers open to give the person we just met the chance to prove us wrong, because everyone can tell you whatever they want. Everyone judges people. Everyone has a certain stereotype when they look onto another person. They have just a weird idea how they might be.
And that is a stereotype.
Why is it so horrible to have the same thing for people of color, and then it gets immediately racist? That's just not how it works. I had a discussion a few years ago on Twitter, of course, where I made a statement about people of color in America, that they have a particular accent, also called blaccent. And I got shit for it. Why so many of the Afro-Americans speak in this particular accent? Why is it offensive for me to talk about this stereotype? There are so many that talk like this. It's not wrong. Why is it offensive? I don't get offended either when someone says, "Oh, you're a woman, you probably like to cook." Am I offended by this? No, the majority of women like to cook. It is a stereotype, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you're forced to cook, or that you are forced as an Afro-American to talk in that accent. It's just a stereotype. It's just an idea that people have. Stop treating stereotypes as a crime, please. And my example with the blaccent brings me to the next topic. Because that, I think it plays in with the stereotype thing. Why is it offensive to imitate the blaccent, but it's not offensive to imitate every other accent in the world? Because I can't say,
"Oh, my name is Jessica. Je suis from France and I want to eat some baguette."
That is fine. But when I try to imitate the accent of Afro-Americans, then I'm a racist. Of course, when I imitate this accent to make fun of Afro-Americans, or to try to prove a point that they're something racist, of course, then you have a point. But when I am a comedian that just imitates other people, why is it offensive when a white person imitates a black accent? There should be a difference. Not everything is immediately racist and sexist and ableist and transphobic and all of these words. Not everything is necessarily evil. You can imitate certain groups of people and make a joke that isn't racist. You can make jokes about Jewish people without being an anti-Semite. Of course, there is a place and time to make those jokes. You cannot just go on the internet and make these jokes and just assume everyone will get it. But to just demonize everyone that just says something with a little bit of a hint of insensitivity, and people lose their mind. In being insensitive is not a crime. People try to cancel other people for saying something insensitive. We had this with Colleen Bollinger. She said, or she was called out as a horrible person because she shared so much stuff about her own pregnancy, but also she referred to people that can't have children of their own because of medical reasons as broken. And yes, it's insensitive to say it like this, but also you shouldn't forget that she was joking, she was having fun. I think it was on a podcast. It was jokingly said, and also she's not wrong. With other health issues, for example, when you have mental health issues, no one gets offended when you are referred to as broken. I have BPD, I have chronic illnesses, and I refer to myself as I am broken because my wrist has a function to move like this. And when it doesn't function properly, per definition, it's broken. As I said, when other people refer to me, oh, she's a broken human, she doesn't work properly, it's insensitive. But it's not a crime. And when you have problems getting pregnant, I know it is horrible, and I know that those comments can be incredibly hurtful. But that isn't her fault. People should be allowed to be insensitive. You can just tell them, hey, that was a pretty insensitive thing to say. But you try to cancel them to say,
they're a horrible person because they said something insensitive.
No, it's just something insensitive. They didn't commit a crime. Calm the down. This is a topic that grinds my gears so bad because I don't know what these channels think about humans. And just let me say, I like to watch drama channels. It's a guilty pleasure. I think it's fun and it's easy to digest to know what's been happening in those different communities. But sometimes they make videos where I think, really, that is something to be mad about. So the best example for it is when the whole James Charles allegations came out that he sent some inappropriate messages to underage boys. He left the internet for 2 months, 3 months, and which is fine. He's horrible for doing that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to defend him in any kind of way. Not in the kind of way relating to that situation, because these allegations are pretty serious and it's a crime. My issue was a few weeks in, on Twitter popped up a photo of James Charles laughing with someone. He was standing with a friend and he was laughing in the picture. And people lost their shit. People made videos.
How dare he? After all that happens, how can he smile? How can he be happy?
Excuse me, is it possible that you have no idea how human emotions work? Yes, he did something horrible. Yes, he did something criminal. But do you think people now must be sad 24/7 all the freaking time? That's not how humans work. Even when you're depressed, there is the possibility of you sitting there and laughing at something. Just to get offended that James Charles was laughing in one picture in all of those 3 months. That's what was enough to make content out of it. And I really don't understand it. This nitpicking of so stupid things. Why? And now, a big topic where I'm kind of scared to talk about. Because this is a concept that I disagree with in most cases. I don't deny that there is such thing as cultural appropriation, but also the way it's handled, especially in the US, they have a different view on this issue because their issue isn't really a thing in Europe. So my take on it is, for example, braids are not cultural appropriation. I know, but because first of all, braids and cornrows and stuff were part of many cultures throughout history. The old Celtic and the old Germans, they had braids. Everyone almost braided their hair, and also braided the hair on the hat. I would almost say that, for example, claiming that braids are inherently Afro-American is kind of appropriation, because it's not. It's fucking braids. It's just a hairstyle. Calm down. And the whole discussion that white people are allowed to wear braids in their job, but black people aren't, is horrible. Don't get me wrong, that shouldn't be a thing. But to take away the right from white people instead of fighting to give everyone the right to wear those braids in the workplace just doesn't make sense to me. It's like the meme I saw about SJWs and SJAs, social justice warriors and social justice activists. The activists go out and say, hey, there's a building with steps into it, but there's no ramp for people on wheelchairs. Let's build a ramp. But social justice warriors will say, hey, there's a building where there's no ramp for people with wheelchairs. Let's shame everyone who can walk for having legs. And that is the same thing. Don't take away any privilege from privileged people. Try to fight that everyone gets this privilege. Because every one of us here, everyone watching YouTube in general is privileged. Because you're able to watch YouTube, you have internet, you have a device where you can watch YouTube, you have a device or you have electricity, you are privileged. Would you say, please take all that away from me so I can starve like someone else? No. Fight for people not starving anymore. Fight for people having a roof over their heads. And not taking away the privilege of the privileged people. For example, I have no idea what I can do about white privilege. I know I am privileged because of my skin color, but there's nothing that I can change about, and it's nothing bad to have white privilege. It is important to know that you're privileged. There should be the difference. And the problem here is that, for example, when I would wear braids in a video, I would get shit for something that is okay in my culture. In Germany, that isn't that huge thing that people say, oh, white people aren't allowed to have dreadlocks or cornrows or whatever. That's not a thing here, at least not to that extent. But when I, in Germany, as a German, do those things that are okay here, that are even okay for the people of color, and I get called out by an American that doesn't know anything about Germany, I'm sorry, there's a problem. And as I said, not all Americans. Again, not all Americans. Just for ease for the argument. But some Americans really think they're the only country in the world and their morality is the best in the world and their culture is the gold standard. And I'm sorry, that's not the case. No one's culture is necessarily better than someone else's because everyone thinks their own culture is the best, or most of the time at least. And also, for example, when I want to wear a dress that is usually worn in other cultures, that's not appropriation. Should we ban then everyone that wears jeans and t-shirts that is not from the Western culture? No, because let people wear what they want. Of course, when it is something very sacred, like the headdress from Native Americans, I can understand, absolutely. But clothes and hairstyles, it's 2021. The globalization is there. Everything mixes over time. Every culture we know today is there because everyone picked and chose something from other cultures and they just used it for their own. That is not cultural appropriation. That is just progress people make. Just to be clear, I don't want to deny the existence of cultural appropriation. There is such thing. When you appropriate, when you use someone else's culture as your own, or you use it for some personal benefit, for financial gains or for clout or something, that is not okay. Again, for me as a European or as a German, this is such an abstract concept because it has a different meaning here. I think that is partly the reason why PewDiePie had his scandal back then. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to defend people saying the N-word. But the way it gets handled in the US is so wild to me as a German. Because the German version of the N-word is also a bad word here, but not as negative as the N-word in America. And that is a fact in also different English-speaking countries, that the N-word there isn't as bad as in the US. And that is why there's so many situations where YouTubers say the N-word or mouth to a song and all the Americans lose their minds. When you're not from America, you don't have the same feeling, emotion behind the N-word. When we're talking here in Germany about the N-word, we say the word we are referring to, so the other people will know what we're talking about. But that doesn't mean that that is bad. When I say, oh my God, did you know that bullshit is a bad word? Would you go out with your friends and say, oh, you know, the BS word? No, you would say the word you're talking about. And I really don't understand why it's so bad to say the N-word when referring to it. Of course, not saying it to someone. Never in a million years would I do it. Never in a million years. As you know, I still say N-word instead of the N-word. Because even though I not really understand it, I don't want to offend anyone. That I can do both. I can disagree slightly to a certain extent and still respect other people that is offensive. Because as a white person, I am allowed to have an opinion, but I'm not allowed to decide if it's fine or not. So I just want to make that clear. I still have respect for the opinion about the N-word. I will never understand how people get offended when a white person is singing to a song, a rap song, and they're rapping along with it and then mouthing the N-word. Not even with voice, just mouthing the N-word. And people try to cancel those people. What the hell? I don't get it. They didn't say it. Yeah, they mouth it, but that's music. Music is for everyone, right? Sure, as a white person, you shouldn't say it. I don't think it's that bad in a song, but again, even though I kind of disagree, I don't do it because I respect the people of color so much that even when I disagree, I will respect their emotions on this because I'm white. I cannot understand the emotions you must feel when a white person says the word. You know what I mean? That is just my opinion of a white person. I would never try to explain to people of color what they should feel. I hope I made this clear that even though I might disagree, I still respect. There's a difference, in my opinion. And I think now that I've talked about all the topics I wanted to talk about, just wanted to sum it up a little bit. I think it is important that we as a community, as humans, basically just have an open conversation about things, even those things, because I know I probably will get shit for some points in this video, and that is fine. As I said, I might be wrong for American viewers. For other German viewers, I might be right, because there's a difference. We in Germany, we didn't have that. I mean, we have our own fair share of horrible history, as you probably know, but the way slavery was in America wasn't a thing in Germany. So our view on those things must be different than the view in America. The problem is that many Americans, or some Americans, especially when they have a YouTube channel, sometimes forget that even though they have their problems and they handle it today the way they do, that doesn't mean that the way I handle it is wrong. Because I'm German, we have a different history, we have different experiences, and we deal with things differently. That doesn't make my way right or wrong, neither does it your way. And that is the purpose of this video, summed up basically. Thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please let me know down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree with certain ideas I have about these topics? Please let me know. I'm really, really curious because, as I said, as a German, I have different experiences and therefore different viewpoints than you. And I'm interested to know yours. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!